Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Leela Manjari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. No, I'm not muted. I think I'll put this in. Leela Manjari. She must have stepped away for a second. Leela Manjari.
You're not going through.
I am. See, I'm not on mute. I'll tell you how I know. Go back to the meeting. See, I'm unmuted, but the video, I just, you know.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Oh, I know. Maybe I'm not high and maybe I'm not loud enough. I got to put the boosters on. Yeah.
You can't hear you already.
Leela Manjari Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Govardhan Leela Mataji, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing? Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. I have Ananda Vrindavan and Manasi Ganga Mataji with me today.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so we're all gonna listen.
Sure. Whose turn is it to read today?
It's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn, right? It's Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're reading tomorrow.
Yes.
I don't know what time it is, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Ananda Vrindavan Mataji, Hare Krishna, Manasi Ganga Mataji. So nice to have you both.
And Yadavacharya is here too.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna Mataji. This is for my obeisances. Go for it.
504. Shall I wait a few minutes, Mataji, or do you want me to get started?
We can get started, Mataji.
All right, so I'll start with the prayers for all of us. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Shakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Padmanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayana Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Udirayat, Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, devotees, let me see who's on the call. I do see somebody else joined. Just a moment. Come on, it won't move now. Well, I don't know who else is on the call, but there's more than two people on there. More? No? Okay. It's not moving. Okay. So today we're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, texts 29, 30, and 31. The sacrifice performed by Daksha. Okay, I'll start with the Sanskrit. Rudra uvacha tava varada varang rav ashishek akilarte yapi munibir asakter adarin narhaniye yadi rachita diyam mavidya loko apavidam japatina ganaye tatvat Paranagrahena. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, my mind and consciousness are always fixed on your lotus feet, which, as the source of all benediction and the fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me, claiming that my activities are not purified. I do not mind their accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion toward all living entities." Purport. Lord Shiva expresses herein his regret at having been angry and having disturbed the sacrificial activities of Daksha. King Daksha had insulted him in many ways, and thus he had become angry and had frustrated the entire sacrificial ceremony. Later, when he was pleased, the yagya performances were reinstituted, and therefore he regretted his activities. Now he says that because his mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he is no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life. From this statement by Lord Shiva, it is understood that as long as one is on the material platform, one is affected by the three modes of material nature. As soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, however, one is no longer affected by such material activities. One should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. This fact is also corroborated in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who is fixed in the transcendental service of the Lord, I got distracted there. Anyone who is fixed in the transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all the material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization, in which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects. The recommendation of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should always be Krishna conscious and should never forget his transcendental relationship with the Lord. This program has to be followed strictly by everyone. From the statement of Lord Shiva, it is understood that he was always in Krishna consciousness, and thus he remained free from material affliction. The only remedy, therefore, is to continue Krishna consciousness rigidly in order to get out of the contamination of the material modes. Would someone care to read text 30? I don't know who joined the class since then. Okay. We have Shri Devi, let's see, Leela Manjari, Lavanya. So anyone who is interested could read text 30.
Mataji, you have a big group to you, if Yadavacharya Prabhu or
Ananda Vrindavan Mataji, any of them, if they wish to read, or Manasi Ganga
Text 30.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. We'll have a Yadavacharya read text 30.
I'll try. Vriguru Vacha Yanmaya Mahanaya Partitatma Bodha Brahmadaya Shtanu Britashtamashi Svapantaha Natman Shritam Tava Vedanti Adhunapi Tatvam Soyam Prasidatu Bhavam Panatatma Bandhu. Translation. Shri Brigu said, "My dear Lord, all living entities, beginning from the highest, namely Lord Brahma, down to the ordinary ant, are under the influence of the insurmountable spell of illusory energy, and thus they are ignorant of their constitutional position. Everyone believes in the concept of the body, and all are thus submerged in the darkness of illusion. They are actually unable to understand how you live in every living entity as the super soul, nor can they understand your absolute position. But you are the eternal friend and protector of all surrendered souls. Therefore, please be kind toward us and forgive all our offenses." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brigamuni was conscious of the scandalous behavior exhibited by each and every one of them, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, in a sacrificial ceremony of Daksha. By mentioning Brahma, the chief of all living entities within this material world, he wanted to state that everyone, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, is under the concept of the body and under the spell of material energy. All but Vishnu. Thus, that is the version of Brigu. As long as one is under the concept of the body as self, it is very difficult to understand the super soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. Conscious that he was not greater than Brahma, Brigu included himself in a list of offenders. Ignorant personalities or conditioned souls have no choice but to accept their precarious condition under material nature. The only remedy is to surrender to Vishnu and always pray to be excused. One should depend only on the causeless mercy of the Lord for deliverance and not even slightly on one's own strength. That is a perfect position of a Krishna conscious person. The Lord is everyone's friend, but he is especially friendly to the surrendered soul. The simple process, therefore, is that the conditioned soul should remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord will give him all protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contamination.
Thank you, Yadavacharya. Manasi Ganga, would you like to read text 31? I mean, I could give it to you if you want, but you want to do text 31. 31. Okay, where is it?
This
one here. Yes,
well, turn it over because I didn't change the page.
You have another idea. Yeah, mine are pretty strong. Do you have another pair of clothes?
Both upside down. I think Ismail might.
Yeah, 250. Yeah, this is 350.
Sure.
Okay.
All the time, I don't know what they are. Okay.
Naitatsvarupam bravato saubadarta Veda garai puruso yavat iksat Janasya chatyasya gunasya chatraya Maya maya paratiripto matasvam. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, your personality and eternal form cannot be understood by any persons who is trying to know you through the different process of acquiring knowledge. Your position is always transcendental to the material creation, whereas the imperfect attempt to understand you is material, as are its objectives and instruments. It is said that the transcendental name, qualities, activities, paraphernalia, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be understood with our material senses. The attempt of the empiric philosophers to understand the absolute truth by speculation is always fertile because their process of understanding their objective and the instrument by which they try to understand the absolute truth are the material, all material. The Lord is aprakta, beyond the creation of material world. This fact is also accepted by the great impersonalist Sankaracharya Narayana Parubhaktad Anandam Avyakta Sambhavam Avyakta, or the eternal original material cause is beyond this material manifestation and is the cause of the material world. Because Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the material world, one cannot speculate upon him by any material method. One has to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by transcendental method of Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktyamam avyajanate. Only by devotional service can understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The difference between the impersonalist and the personalist is that the impersonalist is limited by their speculative process, cannot even approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the devotees please the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his transcendental loving services. Due to the service attitude of the devotee, the Lord is revealed to him. The Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic person, even though he is present before them. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna therefore condemns such materialists as Muddas. Mudha means rascal. It is said in the Gita, only rascals think of Lord Krishna as an ordinary person. They do not know what Lord Krishna's position is or what transcendental potencies are unaware of his transcendental potencies. The impersonalists deride the person of Lord Krishna, whereas the devotees, by dint of their service attitude, can understand him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also confirmed that this is very difficult to understand the personality of the Lord.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Uba, I have your glasses here, your reading glasses. Okay, so I'm going to try. So let me go back, back to text 29. So Lord Shiva is speaking, and he says that Lord, that he basically is always fixed on the Lord's lotus feet. He's speaking directly to the Lord. And he said that the Lord's lotus feet are basically the source of all benediction and the fulfillment of all desire. In other words, we're not going to get our desires really fulfilled in any other way, but by worshiping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Shiva says his mind is always fixed on the Lord's lotus feet. And so he doesn't feel disturbed by persons who blaspheme him and saying that his activities are not purified. Let's remember that Lord Shiva doesn't look like your typical, I don't know. He doesn't look like a typical Vaishnav, and he's got the long beard, and, he's got dirt all over himself, and he looks like a yogi out in the forest. Okay. And so because of that, if we can remember Daksha, the father of Sati, was very disturbed by Lord Shiva and did not think, he was a proper Brahmana because of the way he looked. So he was judging him by the way he looked. So he didn't. So Lord Shiva is saying here, that's okay. They might think I'm not purified, but I don't mind their accusations. And he excuses them out of compassion. And just the way the Lord exhibits compassion towards all the living entities. And we have to remember that Lord Shiva, he would mix with the average jiva. He would get into situations that others did not mix in. Okay. And so he actually had tremendous compassion. And so we know what happened in the previous verses, that Lord Shiva got so upset at Daksha that he cut his head off. But he's now saying that he regrets this anger and that he had disturbed the sacrificial arena that they were having. And Daksha, we know, insulted Lord Shiva in so many different ways. And, he didn't respect him. He did not pay obeisances to him. And so Lord Shiva became angry. And so he frustrated the entire sacrificial ceremony. But later on, he became pleased, and the yagya performance was reinstituted. So at this point, he's regretting his activities, and he said, because his mind was fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord, he's no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life. So we have to also understand, as long as we're on the material platform, and now we can be in the material world, but not be of it. Okay, so we can be on the material platform, and if we are, then we're going to be affected by the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. But if we are in Krishna consciousness, in sincerity, then we won't be affected by the material, by material nature, even though we are in the material world. And we know as devotees that, since we've come to Krishna consciousness, we might have become affected to some degree, but I think it's been personally mitigated quite a bit through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and performing devotional service to the Lord. I think these are the things that have helped me to not be so affected by what's going on in the material world. And so Lord Shiva is telling us, look, we should always be fixed in Krishna consciousness and performing devotional service. And so if we, it's a guarantee that if a devotee, that if we are performing devotional service and fixed in Krishna consciousness, we won't be affected by the actions and reactions. So, I mean, we can say that right now in this COVID situation, this COVID-19, I personally feel that when I had more freedom prior to this, I think I was more affected by the modes than I am now. You know, I'm being restricted, but it seems like there's more freedom now because there's more time to practice Krishna consciousness and to think about what I'm doing on a daily basis. And so for me, I don't feel like I'm being affected in the ways that I used to be. Certainly I'm not perfect, but it's much better. Now, this is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. And so if we are fixed in transcendental service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we've surpassed all material qualities. And we're situated in the status of Brahman realization. And this is interesting too. In which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects? I have to say, this is just me personally. You know, I mean, I might, I have my stuff, but I'm not as interested in acquiring more things as I used to be since I came to Krishna consciousness. So I'm not saying I've never taken a look at something and said, wow, that's beautiful, I'd like to purchase that or something, but I'm not hankering after it. If I see it and it's nice, that's fine, but I don't dwell on that like I used to. I don't know that I was ever extremely materialistic. I'm not too sure I was. And so what we want to do in this material world is not to forget Krishna, to always be thinking of Krishna and our transcendental relationship with him. And we have to follow this strictly. Lord Shiva says, look, it's to be understood. He was always in Krishna consciousness, and because of that, he was free from material affliction. Now, the only thing is that he did cut off Daksha's head, so he did get angry. And there was a reason for that, which was to punish him for, so that he would realize what he had done. So he did get a reaction. I'm just going to say that far. Let me go ahead because I think it mentions that somewhere further down the line that Lord Shiva is also within the material existence. So he could be subject. Well, no. I'm going to be quiet there. Okay. Okay, so Brigu then speaks in text 30. And he says that all living entities, starting from the smallest amoeba, the smallest ant, all the way up to Lord Brahma, or vice versa, we're all under the influence of the illusory energy. And so we are all ignorant of our constitutional position. So he also says that, we also believe in the concept of the body. And so we are all submerged in the darkness of illusion. It's interesting because we are housed by the body, but the soul, I mean, if we understand that the super soul lives within every living entity, we could understand something of the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the Lord is our eternal friend and protector of all surrendered souls. So he's asking the Lord for forgiveness for his offenses. And, I do think, though, we are all under the spell of illusion to some degree, but as devotees, I think we do understand that the super soul is living within each one of us, and we do understand the Lord's absolute position. Only problem is we forget. We can be in that position, and then, you know, all of a sudden something happens in material nature, and suddenly we're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You know, this seems more interesting to me. Or we don't put the Lord first as he should be placed first. So in the purport, it says here that Bhrigu Muni understood, he was conscious of the behavior that was exhibited at this sacrificial ceremony of Daksha. Here it is. He said, Brahma, the chief of all living entities, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, are under the concept of the body and under the spell of material energy, all but Vishnu. So we are all under that spell to some degree. This is what Bhrigu says. So if all we think about is the body as the self, then it is very hard to understand the super soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. And then, you know, Bhrigu, in this particular purport, he also includes himself as one of the offenders. And so people who are immaterial, if we are conditioned souls, or if we are under material nature, we have to understand that our position is very precarious. Excuse me. So the only thing we can do is surrender to Vishnu and pray to be excused for our offenses, let's say, and depend only on the causeless mercy of the Lord to deliver us. And we should not be depending upon our own strength, not even slightly. And so a perfectly Krishna conscious person will only depend upon the Lord and not on his own strength. Because we know as devotees that the Lord is everyone's friend. And he especially cares for the surrendered souls. So conditioned souls, we should always remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord gives all protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contamination. And I've been finding, I can just speak for myself in this pandemic. It's been almost a whole year now, and I feel that I'm less in the clutches of the material contamination because of all of the hearing about the Lord and his glories, chanting about the Lord, hearing from the great souls, from our spiritual master, association with devotees. These are the things we've been asked to do, and this will keep us out of the clutches of the material contamination. I feel it strongly. Like I said, it does hit me here and there, but not the way it used to. So this, for myself, I'm not sure about all of you, but it's been a blessing in many ways, many ways. And I've gotten to know more devotees on the calls, you know, taking classes with different devotees. I've gotten to know Lavanya Mataji much better. Didn't know her at all. What a wonderful devotee. And also getting closer to Sri Devi Mataji every day, you know, through her joining the classes. This is very beautiful, you know, to each time we get closer and closer. And these are our God sisters, you know, so we should know each other. And then finally, Lord Brahma is speaking to the Lord, and he says that we can't just know the Lord by any old process of knowledge. Scientific knowledge is not going to help us to know the Lord. Okay, the Lord's position is transcendental to material nature, and the scientific method or the empiric method for coming to know, to try to understand the Lord is only on the material platform. It is not going to bring us to the highest platform. There's just no way. So we cannot know about the Supreme Lord, his transcendental name, qualities, activities, paraphernalia with material senses. And so the empiric philosophers or the scientists, what do? They try to speculate about the Lord. And so everything that they use, their objectives and their instruments, they're all material. So you cannot arrive at a transcendental name and quality, etc., through material ways. And the Lord is a Rakrita, okay? He's beyond the creation of the material world. And we were just learning this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita yesterday, in fact, in the chapter about Advaita Acharya. And it was explaining very well about Shankaracharya, it says. He was a great impersonalist, and he was trying to, in that philosophy, he was trying, or the impersonalist philosophy, they're trying to say that the material matter creates the material world. And we learned this, in school. I mean, I did, at least when I was in college. They would try to say, oh yeah, the water and the lightning created the first amoebas of the ocean, which, created the first forms of life. You cannot create a human being out of matter. It's not possible. And because we know that the Lord is beyond the material world, and you can't speculate upon him by any material method. So the only method for understanding the form of the Lord is through devotional service. So the impersonalists and the personalists are very different. The impersonalists are limited by speculative processes, and they're not going to be able to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotees please the Supreme. What's different here is we're performing transcendental loving service to the Lord, and so we develop a relationship with the Lord, which is reciprocal. There's love there. You cannot have love with one. There has to be two, at least. So a person who's a materialist is not going to be able to understand the Supreme Lord by any materialistic people or materialistic means. And so the Lord condemns these materialists, calls them Muddas, which means rascals. And some of them think that the Lord is just an ordinary person, and they don't know what his potencies are. They don't know his position. And impersonalists also deride that the Lord is a person. They eliminate the personhood of the Lord. But the devotees, because of their service attitude, they're able to understand the Lord through the devotional service. And that's it. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also confirmed that it is very difficult to understand the personality of the Lord. We have to develop a loving relationship with him in order to understand him, and he reciprocates according to the level of surrender that is given. So that's what I understood out of these three purports. I'm opening it up for comments, for corrections, additions, anything you'd like to say. Hare Krishna.
Nobody's saying anything. I'll say something.
Of course, Prabhu.
You know, this example, the thing that I got out of this example, and every time I read it, it reaffirms, what we hear all the time. But
can you please ask Yadavacharya Prabhu to come a little closer?
What I started saying is this is the example in these verses and stuff is what I get out of this is that I'm a simple guy, so I kind of simplify things in my mind. And what happens is, everybody, here these verses say that everybody's influenced by the modes of material nature, all the way up to Lord Brahma. So we see Lord Shiva gets angry, Lord Brahma does things that shouldn't. I mean, you don't try to, anyway, the desires come up because of the modes of nature, due to mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and mode of goodness. The desires do come up. And because these desires come up, we act on them. And sometimes it's not the proper, proper form of action, because we are influenced, so we're going to react to that. The thing that I always get out of these examples and stuff is how I always try to think of what you should be Krishna conscious. Okay, so what does that Krishna consciousness means to me? And what happens is, even though I see that they make mistakes, but the Krishna conscious part of it is they always turn their consciousness and attention towards Krishna, towards his lotus feet. And after they do that, they start realizing, oops, I made a mistake. And what they do is they start feeling regret or what's the word? Remorse, right? Like remorse. They start feeling bad about what they did, and what happens is, and they start surrendering to Krishna. And when they start surrendering to Krishna, Krishna reveals it to them how that's the only shelter they have, because the energy is so strong that we cannot control that. We will be controlled by it. But the great thing about being a devotee is we always go back into Krishna's lotus feet, and Krishna always reveals to us what we did wrong and how we can correct that. And this is the thing out of stories like this, especially this one with Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva is very unusual. And even all the way up to Lord Brahma, they say that you guys are influenced by the modes of material nature. So all of us are, what to speak of us? They are so powerful, and they are influenced by that. And the only way to to counteract that is to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And that's the example that I got out of that. That's the thing that I got out of that, which is, very encouraging to me, because ultimately it makes me feel a little bit better that I'm not the only, one that's being influenced by the modes of nature. If Lord Brahma gets influenced and Lord Shiva gets influenced, so what to speak of me? But the great thing about it is, what makes us Vaishnavas and what makes us devotees is we end up turning back and taking shelter of Krishna's feet, lotus feet. And when we do that, Krishna reveals to us what we did wrong and how we can overcome that and how we actually get out of this material contamination is by that taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Anyway, that's that's been my kind of my realization, you know. So, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Govardhan Leela Mataji, for the very beautiful class. And Yadavacharya Prabhu, I think it's very appropriate what you said. Is it's very inspiring also, that there is always hope, no matter how lost we are. We have, if we just turn our attention to Krishna's lotus feet, that is our shelter.
That's our secret. We have a secret, but we share it with everybody. It's the most precious thing, you know, that one can get, is that realization. This is the greatest. There is no greater gift than what we are being given. We just have to kind of, you know, catch on to our Guru Maharaj's dhoti and let him drag us along with him. But actually that is a secret. The secret is that surrender part is a secret. It's an open secret, but it's a secret because it's not revealed to people who are not Krishna conscious, or people that try to understand it by their own mental speculation. You know, we don't do that. As a devotee doesn't do it, no matter what level he's on. The only difference between anybody else and a devotee is a devotee will always take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, no matter what happens, and no matter what he does, what he says, how much of a screw up he is, he will always take shelter of that. And that's what makes us, and that's what makes a devotee, is that ability to sit there and repent, repent for something we did and take shelter of his lotus feet. That's the greatest asset that one can take with them. And karmis don't do that. Many people will not do that. They will not surrender. They will be right till they'll take it to their death, being ignorant and not being willing to surrender. A devotee will always put his head down and always turn to the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna, what's going on? You please help me. And then Krishna reveals to him and he helps them. And because of that, they don't occur sin. You'll occur sin if you keep it in your heart. If you keep it in your heart and you don't surrender and you don't take that humble position and turn to Krishna, to his lotus feet and say, please help me. I don't know what's going on, or I made a mistake. You please help me. Someone who's not Krishna conscious, or someone who's very proud, they cannot do that. We can do that. It's actually because we're simple people, so it's easier for us to do that. We're very fortunate. So, and that's our good fortune, is that we have a place to surrender. Nothing worse than being alone. That means anything, but that's how I feel. Yeah, that ability to surrender. We hear this all the time, and sometimes I think, I'm not at the temple. I look at YouTube and stuff, or Facebook, and I see all these devotees doing such nice service, and they're preaching and that, and I don't seem to be, doing much of anything, But that ability to just, to remember and take shelter, that's more precious than anything you can gain in a lifetime. And I know when the time comes when I have to leave this body, I have shelter. There's people who have no shelter. There's nothing worse than being alone and not having shelter and going on your deathbed. You're laying on your deathbed and you look at all your family. Nobody can help you. Nobody can, and you're all alone. That is one of the loneliest and one of the most pitiful feeling that an individual can go through, But a devotee, what does he do? He can, he'll take shelter. So have that knowledge and have that ability to take that shelter, especially under conditions like that. Very, very precious. I mean, we are so fortunate to have that. I see people that have no shelter at all. They lose their job. They go crazy. They don't know what to do. I mean, right now, a lot of people lost their jobs, and I mean, things are changing very, very fast. You know, they're getting their reactions from previous karma and stuff, you know, and they're bewildered, totally bewildered. They think that they're the doers, and they think that, oh, I lost my job. But this, and what happens is they're lost. They have no shelter. And we always can grab your japa bag, you know, grab your japa beads, and we have shelter. We take shelter of Krishna. Very, very fortunate we are. I mean, I can't stress that enough.
We always have something to look for.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
day that we wake up, you know, we're so thankful that we can, you know, continue our chanting.
Yeah, you still have enough.
We have
Like
something to
now,
look for.
my body's getting old. I'm having a hard time waking up early, and this. I mean, there's so many things that are changing, but still, I wake up. I'm so fortunate, you know. I can always grab my bead bag, and you know. So we're very fortunate. Anyway, gratitude. Gratitude is the first step in Krishna consciousness. If you don't have gratitude, if you're proud and you don't have gratitude, it's going to be a long ride home, I guess is the way to say it. But in the other sense, it's so easy. You know, you just tell you know, like I always tell my wife, shut the hell up and start chanting, because you have nothing else. There's nothing else that can do anything. Who's going to do anything? Anyway.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very well stated. Would anybody else like to comment? I'm not sure how much time we have left, but yes, we do have a few minutes left. It's 5:53. So we have about 7 minutes left.
Thank you, Govardhan Leela Mataji, and thank you, Yadvacharya Prabhu. This is Premadasa Devidasi. It is so nice to have you on our class, and it's like my sister was saying, it's so inspiring to actually hear from you. The point that you were making about having shelter despite making whatever mistakes, you know, taking shelter of Krishna. I was just thinking that it's such an important point to always remember, especially I can speak for myself because I think that taking that shelter is not spontaneous or instantaneous. I guess I need reminders, like some devotee coming in and saying, oh, you know, the best thing is that, you know, you take your japa beats and then chant. You should, whatever difficulty you're facing will kind of go away, and you'll find strength in it. Somebody coming and saying, please pray. Somebody coming. I feel like these constant reminders are always so helpful. So just wanted to thank you for your wonderful association, and also Govardhan Leela Mataji for an excellent class. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Premarasa.
It's nice to hear it, isn't it?
Yes, Prabhu.
I'll tell you a story one time. I was in the 70, sometime in the 70s, mid-70s, late 70s, I guess it was. I went to the temple and there was a new brahmachari there. And I came and I got prasadam and I sat down and he started preaching to me. So I just sat there and I was listening to him, and it was so nice, you know, to listen, just to listen to him preach. He was a new devotee, so it was things I've heard many times, but it was just nice to hear it. So I was sitting there and I was taking prasadam, just listening to him, and one of the other devotees came by and he goes, "Oh, Haribo you're initiated? And the other devotee said, initiated? He said, he's Prabhupada's disciple. He's been around since, who knows when. And he goes, wow, why did you let me speak? Why didn't you let me preach to you like this? He said, why didn't you let me preach to you? How come you didn't tell me you're Prabhupada's disciple? I shouldn't be preaching to you. And I said, why not? It was so nice to hear it. I said, it was actually very refreshing. It really enlivened me. And that is actually very true. He kind of felt bad, but what happened is it's so nice to hear it. It doesn't matter from who or where it comes from. I think he seemed like he got a little offended or something. But the point is to hear it from, he was so excited to tell me about Krishna, and it was really nice. Anyway, it's something that I'll never forget. It was very inspiring. So to hear, no matter from who or what, just even from a child to hear it, it's so inspiring.
Sri Devi or Lavanya, did you have anything you'd like to add before we end the class?
I'm just really very happy to hear Yadavacharya Prabhu and, to understand his deep realizations about how fortunate we are. He reminded us that really we are so fortunate to receive the mercy of the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Maharajas. And, we need to hear from senior devotees, because sometimes as neophyte devotees, we just get caught up in the here and now and crib and complain and this and that. But really, if you think about it, how fortunate we are to receive this transcendental knowledge, which will really help us at every moment of life, on our deathbed, in our everyday life, moment to moment. All we have to do is just remember Krishna, take shelter of Krishna, and we can overcome anything. But we tend to forget that. So we really need to hear this over and over again. And I was also thinking how sweet it is that he so much enjoyed hearing this enthusiastic new bhakta preaching. And this is really, what devotees hanker for, and the nectar, wherever it comes from. So I was remembering as he was speaking Bhagavad Gita 10:9, Tushyanti cha ramanti cha verse. Chitamat gat prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So, when we reach that point where we actually begin to blissfully enjoy simply hearing about the Lord, can't wait to get there instead of getting, caught by Maya, how blissful we will be just to hear from any bhakta or bhaktin or anyone the glories of the Lord. We will just become so enchanted hearing that, because it will be pure nectar and we are able to appreciate it at that point. So cannot wait to get there. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Sri Devi. Lavanya, did you have any comment? Might be. Okay, maybe she had to leave. I don't know who else is on this Mataji. I don't know. Oh, this is Prema Rasa. And this is Linda Mataji.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there are no further comments, I want to thank all of you for being here for me. Manasi Ganga, nothing?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that these are scary times right now, and I think that the message that we need to take shelter of Krishna is so very important. So many people are trying to just to cope, and it's very difficult if you don't have the Lord
to go to. Even so, you know, I'm just being honest, it's scary still. You know, I chant and everything, but at times I just worry. I worry about what this world is coming to. I worry that not that the Lord isn't the controller, he's definitely the controller, but it just is worrisome just to realize that so many people are going through so much turmoil. And I truly believe that, you know, we're just at the beginning. You know, there's so many things that, you know, a few of us have heard that video that Gurudev has sent, and it seems like Kali Yuga is just rolling in with tremendous thunder. And, you know, Gurudev has been preaching that we all need to go to farm communities. We need to be prepared for this because he's, you know, he cares about us all. And I'm just, you know, thinking about all the people who do not know Krishna, who have not been introduced or are just too stubborn or too, you know, under the false ego, cannot accept yet Krishna's mercy. And it just is like painful in my heart just to know that, you know, I guess everybody's, you know, they're gonna hit, I mean, karma's gonna come to them that's due them, but it's, I think that it's also time for devotees to really step up. And I really am happy always to hear that Sri Devi's always out there pounding the pavement, distributing books, and preaching. It's doing kirtan. We all just take that step into whatever capacity that we have, because it's, I really feel just like at the pit of my heart that things are really changing and not for the good. And we have the weapon. We have the only thing that can change this experience. You know, all these demoniac people trying to dominate the world, and we as devotees have something that that can change the experience of what's to come. And I just pray for all of us to have the courage and the determination to do what we're able to do.
Hey, can I say something? What's happening now is there's a transition going on. I mean, you know, this COVID and all these things that are happening. It's, you know, it's to show us that, you know, the old ways, you know, they might have been okay or whatever, but it's changing. Things are changing drastically. And I'll tell you something that Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan one time, and Prabhupada liked the idea of having, you know, communities. We call them farm communities and stuff. But Prabhupada liked, he wanted devotees to establish a Vedic culture, and a Vedic culture is all based on agriculture, and you know, trade and sharing. Anyway, Prabhupada was, you know, make a long story short, but what happens is Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan, and Prabhupada says, he said, you should have these farm communities and stuff, and he said, and you should be ready because people will come in groves to take shelter, and you cannot turn them away. That was the comment that Prabhupada made. Prabhupada already foresaw that things are going to get to the point where people will be so frustrated that they will come and they will start taking shelter of the devotees, because that's the only place that there will be left to take shelter. And I'm not talking about, you know, far future. I'm talking about even now. They're looking for shelter somewhere. They gave up on the government. They gave up on their savings. And you can see that all these things are changing. Everything is changing. Things are going to be taken away. The lifestyle is going to change. A lot of people are going to be working off a computer. So what happens is this is a good sign for the devotees to take that very seriously and start thinking about, classes like this, like what's happening now, the media, and that devotees should take advantage to reach as many people as possible. But at the same time, they need to prepare and have communities and have centers where people can go and take shelter. I'm a householder. I would love to live right next to the temple, but here in Chicago, there's absolutely no facilities. Other places, the prices of buildings, of houses have gone ridiculously high, like in Dallas, because people are buying, they want to be close to the temple, and people that have money, they're buying houses at ridiculous prices, which is cutting out a lot of other people. We cannot have that. What we need to do is, it's okay if they do that, but they should put in a certain amount so the devotees that want to live close and they don't have facilities, they should also be able to do that. There has to be a system set up in ISKCON where we got to start thinking about giving shelter to more people. And right now, unfortunately, I'm not saying this in disrespectful way. I'm just looking ahead. That's it. It's an idea. I think that what happens is that ISKCON in general, because devotees are ISKCON, so devotees in general should start focusing on understanding that there's a lot of people that are going to need shelter. There's a lot of people that are going to be misplaced, and they're going to need a place. We need to start focusing on larger communities, farm communities. Devotees buy an acre and a half of land with a house on it, start growing their own things. This is the thing that's going to bring, great respect, great respect to the movement. If we can give them shelter, if we don't have a place and a way to give them shelter and feed them and clothe them and make them feel like human beings, teach them the philosophy, teach them how to chant to whatever degree they are capable of, it's going to be a long ride. Right now, the transition's taking place. Devotees should take interest in this, and they should also start getting together and working together, which hasn't been happening. This zone, that zone, stupid crap like that. What we need to do right now is understand we're all devotees to whatever degree, great degree, little degree. We need to get together and we need to work together for the benefit of everybody else, not ourselves, not anymore. And if we don't do that, we're going to lose a lot of people. This is what has to take place in ISKCON. I don't know if it's going on. Now I'm retired. I'm going to start traveling. I'm going to start looking. But that's going to be my preaching. Get it together. You can lose everything overnight. Everything you got, you can lose overnight. But there's one thing that you will never lose, is your Krishna consciousness and your ability to serve others so Krishna can be pleased and he can bless us. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Okay, Mataji's, I think, our time is up. So
You did good. Yeah, nice.
thank you very much for all the contribution. Yadavacharya was magnificent. Everyone, Sri Devi, all the comments from Ananda Vrindavan and Manasi Ganga Mataji and Prema Rasa. And it's just been a very beautiful class today. So anyway, we'll continue tomorrow. Leela Manjari is giving class. Thank you all. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.